All right, what's going on? What's going on? This is going to be the recap for Friday, August 14th, 2026. Okay, there was a couple things that we were looking for when you go back into the Discord. If you look at the pre-market analysis, I was talking a lot about seeing price potentially come down, right? So this daily bar is going to be Friday here in the middle. We were talking about seeing price come down and push down to our key level 99.50, and then we were looking for price either to start to recover in that level, okay, on Friday, or we were going to see price actually capitulate lower, so just sell off lower into weekly and daily levels of like 99.20 or 99. Okay. Now, what we were anticipating was is if price did start to recover in 99.50s, right, and started to go bullish and short started to cover their positions, that we might see some buyer liquidation from the overnight, especially on NQ, because there was a beautiful pattern of liquidity that we love to see, which are double bottoms. There was a beautiful pattern of liquidity that was available, and it just met with the understanding of the dollar index. Okay. And so going into the comparison here, I'll bring up, let's see here what I have. Oh, okay, cool. So what I'll do here is, like I said, I was wanting to see this, and this was like going into that second half of the day. So 9, 10, 11 a.m., basically seeing shorts cover back up to market. I was wanting to see, like I said, buyer liquidation when it comes to NQ. So now when we go to NQ and we look at the 4 hour, okay, 4 hour, 1 hour, what I was really looking at, if you just kind of like fix your eyes here on the right side of the screen, because the 4 hour does have quite a bit of stuff that I need to clean up going into the market open, which we're about to do that call here in about 20 minutes with the team. But looking at this, okay, on that 1 hour especially, we were anticipating that all we could see before equities open, which I actually want to go and show this on the 15 and 5 as well. I'll kind of pan back and forth. But all we could see before, and let me move this out of the way too. All we could see before equities open on the 1 hour was this. Okay, so you're looking at the 8 a.m. candle, right? And so price to me was very overbought. If you look at the previous day, how they created this massive expansion and the 30,000 level from that previous day. Now, what really got me was the fact of how they engineered the double bottom liquidity going in on the overnight trades, right? So the overnight opens here. Okay, so this is actually like 6 p.m. Central Time, or excuse me, 5 p.m. Central Time Zone, right? Price comes down, price makes like this W pattern here, and then rallies back up to the upside. Now, as price starts to confirm, right, when you're looking at just like a 1 hour, when price starts to confirm higher like this, right, when you're looking at like a line graph and actually looking at price and how it's confirming, it's already confirming strength. So they really essentially need to test, stops inner market, right? Like below these points of interest is usually where we usually find really good setups before they go higher, or they're going to go ahead and test a little bit higher, right? Draw out early sellers and then roll down to the downside to the liquidity target that they want to take out. And so for what we were looking for, that's all you could see. Okay. And so when I go over to this window, you can really see as I kind of take off some of this stuff here, you can really see what we were essentially seeing. Okay, so the equities open was very choppy. I actually took two scratches, which I did the previous day as well. Was able to find a really good setup to finish out the day. This was very similar, just because of I wanted shorts the whole time, but there was one of the shorts that I took that just wasn't. It looked good on the 15.5 1, looked good with everything with the target. It just wasn't above the points of interest, and that's something that I really want to focus on this call, is like really aligning your 15 and 5 minute supply. So what I mean by that is like your supply candles being like candles like this here on the left, right, and then the one being on the right, where it'll be like this one if you're looking on the right side, because we're looking at things fractal, so you got to know where they're at on different time frames. But looking at that 15-minute supply candle and then looking at that 5, the main thing that you want to do is have your order. If you're in a bearish environment and you're anticipating that potentially we're going to get down, like I said, below this W pattern here, which was our target, that low of day, right, the overnight buyers, right, if we're going to get down to that level, we want to be selling above the daily open, and we want to be selling above the New York open. Now, really quickly, I want to bring this up, especially for my premium Discord members as well. I'm getting ready to drop the RSV blueprint, right? So it's going to be really focused on ES and NQ, so you can really have some like key understanding of divergences. But really, what it's going to be focused on is that how you can attack the day with a repetitive system over and over with NQ and be able to come to the stream and have an understanding of not like what are we doing, but more of like, okay, we're looking here now at this time. Should I take the entry because of the criteria, right? And so very excited to be doing that and also be, still working with individuals in the live room already. Okay. And so, going back to where we were, okay, so we had a target on day, we had a bias, right? Because we had an understanding that what we wanted to see on dollar was the recovery off 99.50, which would push us into possible liquidation to a really clean target. And so, um, as we begin to open up New York, okay, this is going to be the equities open, this candle here. Okay, so I want to point this out, which candle this is. Okay, so this candle here, when you're looking on the 5 minute here on the right, that's the equities open. So that candle was very manipulative, right? Ends up going down, spiking below the double bottom liquidity that they had engineered right below the daily open, right? 30,213s, right? So they come down, they close a really solid candle, and then that next candle, which was 35 going into 40, they really draw down on liquidity. Now, as you're looking on that 5, what I want you to do is now just look to the left, okay, on that 15 minute and look at the imbalance, the inefficiency. That's what we were really, seeing individuals basically short down into. Now that's the first wave. Now fix your eyes back onto the right side. That's the first wave down. Okay. Now where I took a scratch was I ended up anticipating a short after the liquidity had been grabbed, which was very new. Okay. But it's the cost of doing business. That's how trading works. Okay. And so price was at least above daily, okay? But then as price moved higher, okay, all you could essentially see on a 5 minute at one point was this, okay? And so price was moving higher and it felt like the move was getting ready to just take off. Now this was going to be 8:40 going into 8:45. Now my kill zone window, the times I love to take trades are going to be in the first 15 minutes of the hour or the last 15 minutes of the hour. But essentially this is all you could see. And if you had lost trying to take a trade like in the breakout in the 230s or like somewhere like in here where we thought, this next candle was just going to open and roll over, possibly down through a bigger, higher time frame target, like I said, 1 hour, 4 hour, 1 hour, 15 area liquidity of the overnight. That's what we were kind of anticipating after the 35 to 40 candle. Now, when you go back to it, what you can see is price. When you look at a line graph, you can really see how price closes higher. So it does confirm strength, right? Now, what my eyes see and where I focus on, okay, is going to be the candle closure of the bodies. Okay, so like I'm just looking at that candle closure of the body. Now, the candle starts to in the kill zone window, 45 going into 50, closed bearish. Then you had another candle, 50 going into 55, closes bearish. But what was key was that it closed below the New York Open. And so what really got me as well was the first candle here. If you look on the left, okay, which is the 15 minute, the very first 15 minute closed the bullish candle. But as we started to go into 8:45, so let's kind of move this here. As we go into 8:45, so focus here on the left side, right? As we go into 8:45, right? Going into 9 a.m., we start to break down. And where I started to notice that on price action and why I started to attack the price was because we started to make lower highs here. Okay. And so it wasn't like price had made the new high, like coming up here, make the new high, right? But when we came down, right, we came down at 9 going to 9 a.m. And then this would have been, this candle here would have been 9:05 going into 9:10, what you had to see was that price was failing to get above the half level, 30,250. Price was failing, if you look over to the left side here really quickly, okay? Failing to get above the supply candle, okay? And then, right, it was also failing to play above at the right time above New York Open, right? And when we're in bearish conditions and we have a target, we're selling above the opening price in bearish conditions, okay? And so, let me pull this up over here. So going back to this here really quickly. Okay. So we ended up taking the position here. Like I said, we were wanting to get right above that New York Open. Price had confirmed to me on that 5 minute that it was creating lower highs, right? It was failing to get above the 260 level, okay? And it was forming that type of price action where they also left this 5 minute candle here, this low here around that London 30,173. They left it as a wick low, which is usually a pretty good sign when you're reading the structure, right? If I go back to the middle screen here, okay? When you're reading the structure of everything, especially on that 5 minute, one thing you've got to notice is that's a lower low, right? So lower low, lower highs to make new lower lows. Like price isn't actually confirming anything differently in this area, right? So what I'm saying is here is like price from the body closure from here to here is making lower lows, lower highs. It's not changing in 15-minute price. It's actually heading towards the liquidity, okay? And so we ended up taking our setup, like I said, and above, right up, like right below New York Open. Okay, so my entry actually was the 239s. It looks like, and this is after I cut two contracts. So I believe I had at New York Open, but let's go for the sake of this. Okay, we were looking for our target, right? Three times our risk, 20 handle risk for 60-point gain. Now we were looking for at this point, okay, we were just looking for that New York low, okay, because this was actually the New York low. If you look on either one of these, right? 30,173. But the target that I had given out on the Discord for this setup, I believe was it was the 30,125s. Okay. And so we were able to get into that. And then we were able to take that trade down, right? And trail it down until it got right into that 30,150s. I kept trailing it down. And then they ended up delivering the area a little bit, I think, after we had got off stream, because we had got off stream like a little bit earlier, like 9:20, I think, or something like that. And then price just completely rolled over, going into the close. Okay. And so that was the area that we ended up taking. Now we were looking for, like I said, a little bit more than 3R. We were actually looking for like 5R, because five times our risk getting from the actual entry that I was giving out, which was a pretty damn good entry. Okay. Like when it comes to like the criteria of what I teach, you have a good 15-minute supply, right? You were getting at or below, or excuse me, at or above New York Open. Okay, you were in a 15-minute supply zone as well. Now, as well, when you look at a 5 minute, okay, and you really identify the move and like what kind of structure you're looking at, you were also inside of a 5 minute supply, taking an entry that was attacking a very weak low from New York Open with a really solid overnight target. Okay, and so this was the trade that we ended up taking, like I said, on the stream, and ended up taking that down to a little bit more than about 5.5 times our risk. And then if you end up holding the trade any more past that, then you got more. I believe I ended up trailing most of my risk to like this area here, like somewhere in the here. So I ended up getting most of mine out after it drew on the 30,100 level, which was essentially my target. Okay. So that's the trade that we took Friday. Kind of wanted to go over that just really quick. Make sure you guys have that, and then we're about to jump into a call here with the Discord and go over what we're expecting for next week. Is looking pretty juicy. I think there's gonna be a lot of really good setups. I really think when you look at ES and how it consolidated that overnight, and then fell off. It was very choppy and very difficult. I felt like NQ had a way better target from the overnight from the New York Open, if you see it from this perspective. And so, yeah, ES just hasn't been delivering the price exactly like I personally like it. It's been a little bit more difficult in what it's looking for. A couple things else that we talk about a lot on stream that I really thought helped with seeing, more downside on this trade, and something that can help you guys that trade in Q is going to be QQQ. Okay. We were looking for a move down through those 729s right after we had cleared the liquidity here in those 733s and wasn't really seeing too much signs of strength. If you compare the two, NQ and QQQ, around that same time that I was talking about, around like 9 a.m. going into like 9:05, right? Like 9 to 9:15, which would have been this area right here. You start to see the breakdowns inside the 733s, which was attacking, I believe, the trendline traders back into the fair value gap. Okay. And so yeah, I feel like there was a lot of good things that come from this setup. Now, a couple things are just criteria for you guys. that I personally look for, like I said, is price and time. Right, I like to align higher time frame context, understanding how to utilize supply candles, demand candles, and how to like, or if you're trading the ICT way, order blocks. Okay, and so understanding inch like not just higher time frame PD arrays, but like smaller time frame PD arrays and how to play intermarket of those areas and that and really algorithmic price. Just applying the same things that with the Wyckoff concepts as well. And putting it all together. Okay, I've also studied a little bit of stuff when it comes to S&B Capital and the right side of the V. So it's like putting all these things together that I've learned over the 7 years of trading and really showing you guys lots of examples and not only that but trading it live in front of people over and over. So this was a really good sell model. I will say, like I said, I could have done a lot better for it being a Friday, right? And so something that I really focus on is just really improving as a trader at all times. Okay. And so let me do this here, put this over here really quick. And so I want to bring this up here really quick. Okay. So this is something that I want to focus on. Let me get some water just really quick. My throat's kind of sore. Pause. But something that I really focus on, I would say that changes I need to make from today going into like let's say going into this new market. Less wasted ammo, right? I would say Friday was pretty choppy, but just a lot less wasted ammo. And then one thing that will say that I did that I felt was really good was I really locked in with my pre-market read, right? And so like understanding my bias, my key levels, understanding the drivers of the day, so any news that was going to really pop up. And then some areas that I improved upon, I would say, is being able to bounce back but stick to the bias, right? So sticking to the bias was key. But the changes, like I said, it just less ammo, making sure I'm staying inside the shot range, and R&R was really good. Sizing was proper, so everything was pretty good. But with that being said, I hope you guys are able to utilize documents like this, and then be able to plug into the calls and be on the lookout for the RSV blueprint. Okay, I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Have a good one.